partner, Richard Dewhurst, who is head of Dairy Research Centre at SRUC. We'll both be presenting today. And just so that everyone is in the right meeting, we're here today to talk about the UKRI's Local Innovation Partnership Fund and a bid that we're looking to put in for the South of Scotland region. So I will be giving an overview of this, a very brief overview of the South of Scotland, so some people will be aware of the region and others won't, and also just around the key focus and what we're trying to do in the region. I'll then hand you over to Richard, who will do a bit of a deeper dive into the actual fund and the application that we're proposing to do. A couple of practical things. We are asking if people would prefer to put their camera off. It would be good if you could put your camera off, and also if you can make sure that you're muted as well, although it looks like most people are muted, so that's fine. We will be recording this session, and you'll be able to access it online, and we will be sending out the link after the meeting. Also, if we can ask if you can use the chat for questions, and we will take questions after the presentation. So if you just use the chat part of Teams to put any questions, and we'll pick them up and answer them at the end of this session. So I'm going to start by just giving an overview of South of Scotland, the South of Scotland Enterprise. So South of Scotland Enterprise is a dedicated economic community and developing agency. We cover 2 local authority regions, which is Scottish Borders and Dumfries and Galloway Council area. Oh, is everyone seeing the slides? Sorry, someone said they can't.
I was seeing the slides where.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure, Davey, what's happening. I think other people can see them. Okay. So in response, so we were set up in response to the unique circumstances of the region, and really a new approach to driving inclusive economic growth. It's a large landmass with challenges, but with lots of opportunity, and I'll speak a little bit about that. And we've been established since March 2020. My presentation. Just some quick key stats about the region in terms of the important ones. We have predominantly rural area. We only have 4 towns with over 10,000 people. We have outstanding and beautiful landscape, including our coastline. We are central in the UK, so we like to remind people of that. We're bang right in the centre of the UK. We have more than 11,000 enterprises. 89% of those enterprises have less than 10 employees. And we generate 3 times more renewable energy than our total electricity usage. We have an entrepreneurial, a real entrepreneurial spirit within the region as well, with lots of really exciting innovations. Our vision is to establish the South of Scotland as a centre of opportunity, innovation and growth. We are unique in the sense that we work with businesses and communities, and within our Act of Parliament, we have got that remit for communities, and that's really important to us at the heart of everything we do. We deliver for the South, and we have 6 key focus areas. So we accelerate net zero and nature positive solutions. We advocate fair work and equality. We have our enterprising communities. We want to empower our communities so they're not left behind. We're attracting ambitious investment, and we've had a fantastic response over the last 2 years where our inward investment inquiries have gone up by about 400%. It's been phenomenal. We do a lot around entrepreneurship and really driving and awakening that entrepreneurial talent. And we want to advance and embed innovation and improve productivity in the region. So there are 6 key strategic focus. The talk a little bit now more, sort of starting to get into really a little bit about the bid and what our focus is going to be. And Richard will go into more depth in that, but an overview of what makes us unique from the rest of Scotland, in fact, the rest of the world, actually, if I'm bold enough to say that, is that we have Scotland's Natural Capital Innovation Zone status, the only status of its kind within the world. We were granted that last year. The region, sorry, in 2024, I should say, the region is perfectly positioned due to its natural resources to drive innovation and investment and deliver a climate and nature positive future. The net zero the Natural Capital Innovation Zone is an opportunity to shine a light on existing and emerging innovation. It's underpinned by circular economy, again, by our community benefit and wealth building, and creativity to bring about cultural change. So the Natural Capital Innovation Zone, and I've got a map here off the south of Scotland, which demonstrates the breadth of our region from east to west and the landmass. And a couple of key sectors and key projects, just to give you a feel and bring that to life a bit, that connect into natural capital. So clean energy is as I've mentioned before, is a big focus of ours. Agri-tech, and that's really linked into particularly down in Dumfries with the Dairy Nexus and the digital dairy chain and that focus on dairy and the mass huge amount of dairy produce that comes out of Dumfries in the south of Scotland. So big sector for us. Marine innovation, opportunities within marine innovation. We have 2 very different coastlines with very unique opportunities around those coastlines. We have our mountain bike innovation centre that's being established now in Innerleithen, and also we are establishing a deep tech innovation hub and a space. That's another key sector for us as well that we're looking at. These are not exclusive. There's a lot more, but I think for the purpose of this was just to give everyone a feel of the opportunities and our ambitions for this region. And as part of that, what we felt with our partners SRUC is that to move and to put in a really compelling bid that will really help and drive impact and growth and innovation in the region, we want to focus on 2 key clusters, which will be clean and distributed energy systems and advanced technologies for land-based production and processing systems. We feel that there is strong synergies between these 2 areas. They exploit the region's natural capital and are seeking digital solutions to increase productivity, improve sustainability, and decarbonise their activity. So many of the businesses that within the region are electricity intensive, and this is a way of seeking sources of cheaper, consistent, and clean power, while driving innovation within our key sectors, addressing carbon emission, addressing productivity, and food security in some cases. So I and Richard both feel this is a really exciting opportunity for the region to really put some compelling projects forward. So I'm going to hand you over to Richard now, who's going to do a bit of a deeper dive into the actual application and give you more information on that. So I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, thanks very much, Susan. I think there was obviously a problem with the synchrony between the slides and what you were saying, Susan. I think the slides were coming after you spoke, but hopefully people will have got a good flavour of the kind of priority areas for the south of Scotland and SOCI's aspirations for the region. I'm hoping that when I share my slides, we'll synchronize. We're obviously going to be sharing all of this content, so people will be able to pick up the slides and at the next stage. So let me now. So can I ask, is that sharing for everybody? Yeah, thanks, Philip. And if I move down the slide, um, has that moved on for people? Great. So I think we're reasonably synchronized. I'll go back to my first slide. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar about the Local Innovation Partnership Fund. As Susan has said, I'm Richard Dewhurst, and I head the Dairy Research Centre for SOUC, based at the Barony campus in just outside Dumfries. And I'm going to give you some more detail about the Local Innovation Partnership Fund. It's a new scheme from UKRI, so we're all learning as to what it is. But I think the important thing is that it's a great opportunity for our region. We need to be in there bidding for our region alongside bids that will be going in from other regions. It's a scheme from UKRI, UK Research and Innovation. Now that's the government, the UK government's main body for funding research, and it has a huge budget, £8.8 billion per annum budget. It's the overarching organisation for the research councils, for Innovate UK, and Research England, and in total they have an £8.8 billion budget. The Local Innovation Partnership Fund is new. It's a £500 million programme for development of innovation clusters, and it's all about the government's place-based agenda. So funding research, development, and innovation in regions of the countries. They talk about economic geographies. This program will operate between 2026 and 2031, and it's designed to catalyse place-based innovation and unlock private investment in the region. So that synergy between investment in innovation and growing the production base and creating high value jobs in the region. UKRI want to see this initiative managed by what they call a triple helix partnership. Now that's a combination of civic bodies such as South of Scotland Enterprise, businesses, and research organisations working together and making local decisions about priorities and support for research and innovation. There are two strands to the Local Innovation Partnership Fund, so-called earmarked and competitive strands. The earmarked strand has already been allocated, and it's been allocated to English mayoral regions, but also to the City of Glasgow, to Belfast, Londonderry, and to Cardiff and its region. So they've already been allocated money and are in the process of identifying projects to work on over the next few years. The remaining funds are in the competitive strand, and that's effectively available for the rest of the country that isn't in a mayoral region or Glasgow or Belfast or Cardiff, and that's the one that we're able to bid for. We have to define a region, and we have to define the projects that would fit within that. So the objectives of the LIP program I've listed here. So it can be building on existing research and development and innovation clusters. Many will have been involved in the Digital Dairy Chain project. That's an example of a cluster around one industry, but there are lots of other examples. And it can also be about supporting emerging clusters of research, development, and innovation. Objective to strengthen technology adoption and grow businesses. We want to incorporate new and advanced technologies into our industries. Very much about mobilizing private investment and creating high value jobs in regions. So what can we do from a research, development, innovation support point of view to support the investment in the region and growth of capacity? It's about increasing innovation capacity and capability through new products and services, and how can we use research, development and innovation to help you to develop new products and services that are grounded in this region. And there's also an emphasis on building international competitiveness and attracting inward investment to the region. Just to give an example from the earmark strand, the Glasgow City region has been already had £50 million allocated for projects, and they've decided they're going to spend half of that on health and life sciences and half on digital enabling technologies. And there's a little screenshot here of the Glasgow City region Local Innovation Partnerships Fund call for proposals. We're not yet at the stage that we have funding approved to run such a call. We're applying to get funding to be able to do this, and we'd be hoping to be able to do this kind of thing later on in 2026. But I'll say more about that in a minute. So the competitive strand, there is £200 million available, up to £20 million per region. And this, as I mentioned previously, is open to areas outside of those earmarked areas. So in Scotland, really everything apart from the city of Glasgow. The activity that is supported through this programme must be in a defined region, but it can draw in investment and expertise from outside of the region. It's about growing the region. There is a strong preference for civic leadership of these local innovation partnership fund projects, and that's where SOCI are going to be in the lead on this project. And there's an emphasis on integration with existing investments and policy, so linking in with the regional policies. I should have mentioned when I was talking about the triple helix partnership and civic bodies, we envisage that the kind of, if we're successful in getting a pot of funding from the LIPF, that it would actually be managed by a subgroup of the regional economic partnership for the South of Scotland Regional Economic Partnership already exists. So that's the kind of governance structure that we're envisaging for this. The application for the Local Innovation Partnership is a two-stage process. There's a readiness check, so-called readiness check, and the deadline for that is on the 12th of February. That's a relatively small application, probably about 15 pages at the end of the day. That will look at our ability to look at governance, our ability to manage a portfolio of projects. It's been looking for an outline of the kind of projects that could be supported through the LIPF. It won't be asking for great detail about them. It'll just be looking for evidence that there is a potential pipeline of high quality projects. And the third area is to be looking at delivery capability, the ability of the area, the region to manage the projects, and that's very much in the remit of SOCI, who are already in the business of managing projects and supporting projects in the region. If we're successful at that stage, UK ministers will be making announcements in April, I think is the expected timeline. And successful bids will then be invited to submit a detailed portfolio of projects, and working together with the region and UKRI to build a portfolio of projects. And it's anticipated that will be done in April, May, and June. So the geography and participation, it's really up to projects to define an economic geography. But we've been discussing with SOSI and agreed that we'd like to base our bid on the South of Scotland Enterprises Natural Capital Innovation Zone. That's not to say that organisations outside of that area couldn't participate, but they would have to propose projects which invest in that region. So we're inviting expressions of interest in research and development and technology projects that are deployed in and for the Natural Capital Innovation Zone. So that may be of interest to research institutions with translational R&D capabilities, or businesses with growth potential, particularly interested in businesses that are investing in that region and looking for research and development and innovation support to assist with the business growth. The types of projects that we're looking for, and this is very much text from the UKRI guidance, or mostly text from the UKRI guidance. Projects that translate research into products and services, and that there's a range of activities that might involve product development, prototyping, technology transfer, and other things around getting products into the market. We've defined two focus areas. One of the things that UKRI emphasize is that they don't want a scattergun approach. They don't want lots of little project areas, or they want to have some level of critical mass, and we've identified these two areas as the focus for our regions. So clean and distributed energy systems. Susan's already mentioned about the challenges and the opportunities of energy in the region. And then the second area is advanced technologies for land-based production and processing. That's fairly broad, but it does link in with government priorities around advanced manufacturing and incorporation of new advanced technologies. The real sweet spot would be projects that kind of bring those two things together, because we know that some of the land-based production systems and processing are very energy intensive. Projects that brought those two things together would be really good. One of the key crunch points about the UKRI is they want to demonstrate at least 2-to-1 private sector leverage. So the private sector putting out 2 for every 1 of government investment, and there's a fairly long time window that will be accrued over. It's so some of the private investment may be at the R&D and innovation phase, but it also recognises that private investment will be continuing through the implementation phase, and there are costs that might occur after the project is completed that are part of getting things through to market. So we're looking for projects that provide investment and high value job creation in the region, create long-term sustainability with potential for follow-on. As I've mentioned, there's a preference for fewer larger scale projects, but recognizing that the dispersed sparse population of our region means that sometimes that may involve aggregating a number of smaller projects. Taking, for example, farms, multiple farms working together on projects as one example. We need to build deeper and stronger collaborations across the region, growing that collaboration between the civic agencies, research and businesses. And specifically, they say early discovery or blue sky research is excluded. This is a high technology readiness level program. It's very much about moving out to implementation of new products and services, not blue sky early stage thinking. So it's I think at this stage I should sort of reiterate that there's not any money on the table for our region. what we're looking for is to work with businesses and academics and across the region to put our best case forward to demonstrate the potential for projects in the region that make the case that we would be allocated funds, and then, you know, if we're successful in that, in May and June, we would be into a phase of developing projects. So we want to talk to businesses planning to invest in the region, and we you know, through our conversations, we know there's lots of that happening. Susan already mentioned the you know, the massive growth in interest in investing in the region. So, you know, if you're wanting to build new facilities, install new equipment, develop new products and services, question there is how can the LIPF provide support for R&D and encourage further investment, that research to support that investment. And that could be grant funding, technology support, access to product development support, support on IP, or some of the examples of things that can be done there. We would like to talk with businesses, civic bodies and research providers outside of the South of Scotland enterprise region, you know, recognising the activity needs to be in Dumfries and Galloway or Scottish borders, but recognising that there is great research and innovation strength in Glasgow, Edinburgh, Lanarkshire, Northumberland, Ayrshire, Cumbria, so the region all around us, that we would like to be able to pull in expertise to invest in the region. But the sorry, I'm talking to the wrong slide there. I'm getting confused between my notes. I'll look at this slide. Yeah, so we recognise the wealth of expertise in the regions around our area. But having said that, activity must be delivered in the South of Scotland Natural Capital Innovation Zone that's shown there. Go back a slide. We're also like to talk to businesses creating jobs and recruiting new staff to help build the research industry collaboration. There are schemes like, for example, the existing knowledge transfer partnership, where there can be support for positions that are between an academic organisation and an industry organisation that help in transferring from academia into industry. So lots of people we'd like to talk to. So this is very much a first stage, and we're looking to gather the best ideas that we can put on our application to try and secure the funding. We have a website that is indicated here, just for organisations. Anybody who wants to express an interest, let us know. I mean, that's one way to contact us. You could also pick up the phone and speak with us as well. Last thing I wanted to say was obviously we'd like, this is an ongoing process. I think as Susan's indicated, it's a kind of direction of travel for government support for research and innovation more generally. So it's a dialogue that we want to continue. There is a submission that we'll need to put together for the 12th of February. That won't be the final say in terms of projects anyway. There'll be we want to talk with you before then, but also after then. And if we're successful in getting through the first stage, it would be in April, May, and June, where there would be more work on refining a portfolio of projects. So hopefully that's given you a flavour of what we're trying to do, and an indication of how you can participate and help us at this stage. A suggestion was now that we would open up the chat, and if you have any questions, that because there are so many people on the call, we were proposing not to open up the microphones, but if you have questions or comments, you could put them in the chat now. Equally, you could get in touch after the call if it's an individual kind of question that you want to speak about. So I'll stop sharing. Go to the chat.
I think some of them have been answered, but it might be worth us just going over it just in case anybody's missed. You think, Richard?
Yes, I'm reading in the chat there.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of comments about the about the delay in Susan's slides, but we'll circulate the presentation, so I think you'll get that. You'll get that and be able to have a look at that.
I think the questions start at 10:26. Looks like.
Right. So South Scotland is the national NCIZ, creating a living lab and learning hub.
There's one before that, which is, does land-based technologies include livestock and milk production? And yeah, the answer to that is yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So things that are rooted in the in the land of this region. I mean, projects that are creative. I mean, at one level, there may be project specifically about dairy. I mean, you could have a project that improve the technical efficiency of dairy farming. That's one level. I'd say that the really interesting projects that go beyond that, might be in diversifying, perhaps looking at waste streams from dairying or forestry or whatever the industry is. But yeah, certainly, yeah. Dairy's in scope as a land-based industry.
So a question about the technological, can't speak today, readiness, the TRL. My understanding it's from 4 to 8. So for this particular round, that would be the range. So this isn't basic research, it really is, or fully commercialization, it's somewhere in between. I think the important thing to probably emphasize on this is the ability to raise that at least 2-to-1 ratio in private investment. So I think that's something that's really important, that I think UKRI will be definitely looking at, as well as that we have to show that for each of those projects there is private sector investment of 2-to-1 ratio. So if $1 million is going into it from UKRI, the fund, they'd be looking for 2 million to come in from the private sector for that. So I think it's probably important just to emphasize that, because that's an important part of it.
Yeah, it kind of links into the question from Paul Lindup about does the definition of distributed energy include community generated energy and direct use for resilience, combating fuel poverty, overcoming digital exclusion, etc. I mean, the answer is yes, yes, very much, but recognizing that there will be quite a challenge in terms of the commercial proposition on that one, and how that's constructed. It's one of our challenges for the region is, there's not multi-billion, huge businesses. Things are distributed and an aggregation of lots of smaller bits and pieces. But how do we present that? But so some of the thinking around cooperation and aggregation will be part of that.
Like the next one is, does the definition? Oh yeah, we've answered that. So it'd be great to get some examples of the type of things you're keen to support. Two priority areas could be interpreted quite differently by people on the call.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, as I said, we're expecting that this will be a sort of subgrouping of the South of Scotland Regional Enterprise Partnership that would help in working with UKRI to define the kind of projects. I think at this stage, what we're needing are some good examples. I think the portfolio development will be at a later stage. But you know, as with every grant call, people kind of squint and look through look through the fingers to try and squeeze whatever they do into whatever call there is. I think at this stage we'd be looking for things that are pretty mainline down our two priority areas. You know, without forcing things.
Yeah, I mean, if it's okay for me just to add to it, I think that's right. But I think we'll share the slides with everybody, and you'll see some of the priority areas contained within my slides. Apologies that you didn't see that during the presentation, and that will give some idea of the types of projects that we're already working on. I think, Richard, we are very keen on that. I suppose that focus on the circular economy concept as well is really important. It's not solely it's about innovation, but the innovation, what is the impact that would be attached to that innovation when it's implemented commercially is also. So, you know, if you look at the South of Scotland Enterprise and the Regional Economic Partnership key priorities, that will give you some really good hints around it. But that is around not solely, but it would be around reduction in carbon emissions if possible. Better ways to use energy and natural resource, you know, natural energy, clean energy, and yeah, around the agricultural, not solely just dairy, but other, you know, other agricultural you know, industry as well. So I hope that gives a little bit of an idea of where we are. But as you say, we're open, you know, we want to be innovative, we want to look at new ideas, but around that kind of sphere that we're talking about. So we're open to, yeah, to looking at ideas really and innovation.
Yes, I mean circularity and biorefining, those kind of, you know, resource use, and I say the really sweet spot would be projects that kind of link that with energy, and we're aware of some ideas kicking around that bring those two things together, but that's not exclusive. You know, I think if it hits one or other of the target areas, that's good.
And the next question is about are funds restricted to late stage commercialisation, or can they support translational R&D and pre-commercial engineering work? Some examples and where this directly enables deployment. I think it's mid to late stage development is my understanding of it.
Yes, yeah.
So, you know, requiring prototypes, models, systems, demonstrations, that kind of thing. So it's
Yeah,
not just purely basic research, that there'll be the ability to, I think the real driver, it feels to me, for this funding call is to start that pre to commercialization stage that there is within, it's a 5-year, so it's 5-year funding cost. It's a 5-year period that the money's for. So it would feel to me that you would at least be wanting to show commercialization in that period of time.
So at the outset, it's out of the lab, out of the you know, it's into a kind of pilot or
yeah. And this one for you, Richard. An early slide talked about technology adoption. Is that seen as a primary goal, or will it be an offshoot from another project?
not entirely sure I understand that.
I think technology adoption would be part of, although not solely. I think it will be definitely it wouldn't, if there wasn't any tech, would probably have to be technology adoption involved in what we're talking about, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not just all about that, but I would imagine the types of projects that we're talking about, there will be an element of technology, definitely adoption.
Yeah, I mean, I guess particularly if there's an element of challenge around technology adoption, and if there are some research and development questions around, if it's a technology that's coming from elsewhere or from another sector, or needs some modification. I think I mean, it's not funding just to go out and buy a new piece of kit that's well established, that that the business should be making the business case to be buying that. It's about supporting things that are a bit riskier, at an earlier stage than that.
So can investment from industry be in kind, or does it have to be cash? It would have to be cash investment.
Yes, that's right. I mean, UK are quite hard nosed about that. They recognise that if businesses are doing things, that's costing them money. So if there's an R&D project and the business is doing stuff and buying stuff, then that's a real cost.
So I think the next one is again about the investment. So it says 1-to-1 initially, 2-to-1 over the project, 3-to-1 over the lifetime of the funding impact. I think I prefer that. I think in these applications that we're really showing and demonstrating that private sector money is there, or where it's coming from. I don't think we would want to put anything forward that initially said it's 1-to-1, that the fund is. I think it's very clear. I think what Richard's saying, there will be a hard nose approach to this. Innovate UK very much, and it's all over their application websites around. At least we must demonstrate that 2-to-1, and I would probably feel more comfortable if we were starting to. I understand it's very difficult, but if there was already a private sector funding streams identified, or where that would come from, because I think that's risky if we say initially 1-to-1, and then that doesn't mature throughout the project. So this is going to be a very competitive stream of projects throughout. We'll be competing with the rest of the UK, I think Wales, some of the mayoral districts. So we really need to make sure, and I think that will be one of the key factors, is being able to demonstrate that we are able to raise private sector funding for these projects. So I would say 2-to-1 from the beginning would be preferable. But again, we're open to discussion, we're open to ideas, we're open to flexibility. So if you're not sure, if that is a challenge, then just speak to us, and we want to hear all the great ideas that are out there as well.
Yeah, that's the key point. I mean, it's a new program, and we're learning, but we just need to be putting our best face forward and identifying the best projects to be putting in.
So I've got one here. At Atomic Tractor, we have 3 net zero mobility projects funded by IUK and DEFRA. We'd like to centre future R&D and manufacturing in South West Scotland. Would this type of development be in line with the direction required for investment support?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about trying to grow the R&D capability in this region, and that alignment between really innovating novel manufacturing technology development. That sounds very much in scope.
So
when there's R&D requirement alongside a business wanting to grow manufacturing capacity within the region.
Yeah. The next question is: Are SOSI able to facilitate connections to private investors? Are there people already in the pipeline? So I think we wouldn't be able to facilitate, I would imagine, 100 or whatever, if we get loads of expressions of interest. I think possibly, what I would probably say is that we would hope that companies would have their own private investment, or they'll be able to raise that investment. to come in as a match, obviously match or the 2-to-1 ratio. But however, what I would probably suggest is if you've got a great idea and you put that expression of interest in, and I totally understand that for some companies and organisations, it will be very, this is quite a new thing about raising private investment, or you might want to use your own investment, and that might not be possible either. So I would say have that conversation. So what we don't want to do at this stage is this, exclude something that we could do a little bit of more help with in that. So if I'm not saying that we would be able to facilitate every single expression of interest. I think it would probably be down to, once we get the expression of interest, if there is an issue over it's a good project, but there's no experience, or the private investment is an issue, then have that conversation with us. But it would be, we are looking for companies that probably already are thinking about investing some cash from the company, not exclusively, but into this. So there's private sector money from the company that's looking to get involved in the project, or there is a mechanism for them to raise that private investment. So I'm trying to be as fair as possible here, not say no, but I think the facilitation of private, we can possibly have a conversation about where you might want to look for that private sector funding, but we wouldn't be involved in any of the conversations or anything like that. But I think it would be a stronger expression of interest if you did have some idea at this stage of where that private investment might come from. Fair to say.
Yeah, next question around, does private sector investment take cash only, or does it include staff time and in kind? I think we've already said yeah.
Okay, so got one here. I've ended up in this meeting via the milk round, where we would be installing digital IoT for dairy farms. We also cover solar and battery tech, resilience to power cuts, which is our main business, no power, no problem, as well as agri-tech. And we operate from a functioning farm. We also concentrate a lot on education for students and adults, so they understand digital IoT and can work with renewable energy. So is there different directions we can go in to cover things like agri-tech, etc.?
I mean, a few thoughts come to mind on that one. I mean, it sounds like the project has been quite small. So whether these activities have the scale that we're looking for, I mean, I think that's probably one of our challenges as a region, getting things at a sufficient scale that we can convince UKRI that it's, there's a critical mass and scale on some of these things when you're when we're competing against city regions and things like that they're probably much bigger businesses. So we need to be smart about that.
Yeah, and I think maybe just following on from that, Richard, is that I think you had mentioned earlier on that possibly collaborations between possibly different businesses. I think we're thinking about farms or that kind of thing, to come together to create a slightly bigger project would be good. What I would say again is it's worth, even if it's small, what we have talked about is, because to me small is still good, and we have a lot of small companies across the south of Scotland. If we do get quite a lot of interest around that, we might package that up differently. So it's maybe worth like if it is quite a small project, say under $1 million, I would think, possibly still put that forward. I would say put that forward, because it may be that if there is quite a lot of that, we might look at our bid and see, do we need to bid for a fund to help? I'm not sure yet, because we're still at that stage of thinking about it. So what I don't want to do here is, because SMEs is the life and blood of our region. So the reality is that I think UKRI will be looking for big projects. That is, and with that investment coming in, but that's not to say that we still want to see what else is out there and there might be a way of packaging that up differently. But at this stage, if you'll get your expression of interest in, and we'll certainly have that. We can have that conversation.
Yeah, there's certainly areas like energy, yeah, the kind of farm level energy, or some of the circularity
Yeah,
opportunities there where things are spread out, and the challenge is how you bring things together at a scale
yeah,
that actually
yeah.
works.
And as you said, Richard, we don't want this to just stop here. We want to see what's out there.
Yeah.
You know that. So it, yeah, I think it's, if you think this is if you fit this criteria, or you think you've got an interesting project, and please put it forward. And yeah, I think it's good to know what's there. Um, idea on distributed energy was more to look at how existing community benefit could be utilised to deliver what rural communities really need for long-term benefit, to include digital understanding, how communities use their energy, how they can manage that use, and how that could be longer-term resilience. That feels more like research to me, but I don't know what you think, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, the question would be, what's the commercial
Yeah, commercial
model
angle on it. Yeah.
behind that one? Uh, I'm sure there's a huge amount. I mean, it's not really my area, but the energy side of things, I'm sure I say there are lots of challenges, but lots of opportunities as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, just
Um,
presenting that in the right in the right
yeah.
way.
I think emphasizing back that it's the commercialization, it's the private investment, is really important here. It's not research and development, or at this stage. This is beyond that. I think you'd already emphasised that. Would something like diverting milk from being dumped in biodigesters into schools to lift kids out of food poverty be considered? Rural
Again, the question would be, UKRO will be looking for, fairly large
commercialisation.
commercial opportunity. So
Yeah,
if there is something there that feels more um, charitable, and maybe not a big commercial, but I guess it depends on the scale of that.
yeah. Are we going to facilitate some matchmaking exercises? I'm mindful we have some opportunities around energy reduction and manufacturing, but it'd be great to engage with end consumers such as farmers in the region.
As I said, it's a kind of two-stage process.
Yeah,
At this stage, we're just looking for what would be probably paragraphs of description of project areas that give the nuts and bolts of a proposition. There's a later portfolio development phase where more detail would be coming in. So at the moment, we're not envisaging um, uh, going heavily into the project development. We're wanting to have sort of one-on-one
yeah.
discussions, or small group discussions with interested parties.
So got one here. It's probably my one. What is the relationship with other grant schemes, SE Capital, FPMG? So again, it's very, very clear that if you were raising other public sector, so I'm not saying it's very clear, sorry, it's clear to me that if you're raising public sector funding, you would then have to demonstrate the 2-to-1 ratio of private sector funds.
Yeah.
So I would have to I'd have to check that, but my feeling is that again it's very clear that any public sector money that is raised, you would then need the 2-to-1 at least ratio of private investment to come to that. So if you do have and also what you need to watch with, and I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but again, if someone does want that conversation, I think it's Paul Grant, you start then getting into state subsidy and that kind of stuff as well around public sector grant money. So I would probably say that if you're bidding into this fund, it's really the focus is the private sector investment you can bring onto it. If you want to bring some additional public sector grant funding, and it goes past all the state subsidy rules, then you would then have to raise that addition in private sector investment, if that makes sense. Any ideas that are ready for funding applications, please all contact. Okay, that's a good one. I love that. I like that, James.
James has obviously got some funding available through the DEFRA
Yeah.
Adopt program. That
Okay.
if that's relevant to folks, so there's the current round of DEFRA Adopt funding is out there. Although I think that's quite usually an emphasis on England. But
would the funding be suitable for training and upskilling within the land-based sector? I would say no. It's got to be commercialisation. It's got to be around raising investment. So there has to be a commercial case attached to that. If training and upskilling comes in as part of the project, that's a bit different. But if it's solely a project based on training and upskilling, then this isn't the fund for that. Organic Research Centre. Oh, currently working with Organic Research Centre. Oh, right. I think that relates to James. So that's a question back to James. Oh, that's fine. That's fine, James. We're happy with you hijacking the chat. I love it that we're getting a bit of networking already. I mean, this is part of the I suppose the good thing about getting everybody together and putting the call out wide, that you unlock so much potential, and people then starting to chat in the meeting, possible collaborations, which is what we want to encourage. So I think that's the tough round of questions, but I hope we've managed to answer them all as well as we can. I mean, I did have to mention state subsidy and delve a little bit into that, and people might be saying, oh my goodness, I don't even know what that is. So if anybody does need any further information on that, I'm happy to have a conversation, or we can put it through the link that we'll be sending out, and we're there to, if anybody just says, oh, I didn't understand any of that, or that doesn't sound very clear, then please get in touch with us and we can answer that. But we're looking forward to receiving your expressions of interest. And I don't know, Richard, if there's anything else you want to add.
No, I don't think so. If there's any last questions that anybody has, we're always here. I think that's given a good flavour. Carrying on with access to farms for James's project. That's good.